My younger sister got pregnant out of wedlock, gave birth to a baby boy at a small clinic, and then vanished without a trace. The doctor tracked down my home using the address she had left behind and handed the child over to me. My parents begged me on their knees to take the baby in, and just like that, I, a single woman with no family of my own, ended up raising a child through countless hardships. After years of struggle finally raising the boy, my sister suddenly reappeared, with a wealthy man sporting a gold chain standing right beside her, clutching her son. She wept and accused me of stealing her child out of jealousy, tearing them apart. My son cut ties with me without hesitation and ran into her arms. While my parents drove me out of the house, the whole neighborhood condemned me, and in despair, I jumped from a building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my sister gave birth, at the crack of dawn. Someone knocked on my door, startling me so much I broke out in a cold sweat. In my past life, it was at this exact moment that the clinic doctor made a huge scene pounding on my door, waking up all the neighbors, right in front of everyone. They handed me the baby and scolded me, accusing me of being an irresponsible parent. I only found out later it was actually my sister's child. My parents begged me to keep the baby, and since I had no plans to marry anyway, I agreed. But later I came to deeply regret the choice I had made. Hearing the noise, I jolted awake, scrambled to open the door, and saw a familiar face. Lynn, you gave birth to a child and then abandoned him. You should know that child abandonment is against the law. The neighbors were all up, craning their necks to get a better view of the commotion. I glared at him, and the next second, I yanked off my slipper and smacked him right across the face. You shameless old geezer. How dare you try to pull a scam on me? I don't even have a boyfriend, let alone a child. Have you ever seen a new mother who can throw down like this? Do I look like someone who's had a baby? My rapid succession of movements left the doctor utterly dumbfounded, just as Mabel, our neighbor across the way, snapped to attention. That's right, Lynn goes to work every single day. We've never once seen her with a baby bump. Could this be some kind of mistake? I recognize him. Isn't that the doctor from the clinic down the street? I stood with my hands on my hips and yelled, you shameless old crook, running a shady clinic and now trying to scam me. I'm calling the police. Hearing I would call the police, the doctor panicked. I'll let it slide. I grabbed him by the hair. You might let it slide, but I'm not letting you get away. Then I called the police. Hello, 110. There's a baby trafficker here. Stop talking nonsense. If you don't explain yourself clearly when the police get here, I'm going to smash up your clinic. Heaven gave me a second chance at life, and now I'm letting out all the resentment I endured in my past life. By the time the police arrived, they saw the doctor holding the child, bruised and battered, while I stood there in my pajamas, slipper in hand, fuming with rage. All the neighbors gathered around, hearing how it all went down. The officer looked at the newborn in his hands. The umbilical cord was still attached. What's going on here? Out with it. This is the address and name the patient left behind. He pulled the medical record from his pocket. The officer confirmed the address was indeed mine, and the name matched as well. I crossed my arms and said, I have no idea who's using my name to have a baby and trying to pin it on me. Just as I finished speaking, my parents, who had been silent all along, showed up. Lynn, since you don't want to get married anyway, why don't you just adopt the child? Mom, Dad, what kind of talk is this? How could I just casually adopt a child of unknown origin? Who knows what his parents do? What if they're drug addicts? Those inferior genes can be inherited. I don't want to raise an ungrateful brat. My parents were left speechless by my words. The doctor nearby looked displeased and shoved the child right into my hands. This is your family's child. I'm done with this. Tell Chelsea to raise her own son. If I'd known your family was this unreasonable, I wouldn't have come. Instantly, there was an uproar all around. Everyone found out. It was my sister Chelsea who had given birth to the child. That's bullshit. First you claim it's my child, now you're saying it's Chelsea's. Do you have any proof? You can't just dump a baby on us without evidence, officer. I strongly suspect this man is involved in child trafficking. With that, I shoved the baby back into his arms and crossed my arms, washing my hands of the whole matter. Mom stood by in shock, exclaiming, Lynn, Mom, Dad, don't be naive, there are tons of scammers out there these days. Mabel chimed in, Clark, don't you dare spout nonsense. This doctor first claimed the baby was Lynn's, and now he's saying it's Chelsea's. He's spouting absolute rubbish. Yeah, who knows where he even got that child from. The doctor immediately sprang to his feet. Martin, never tell lies. How many years have I been running this clinic? Do you really think I'd deceive anyone? It was clearly last night when your sister Chelsea rushed into my clinic, begging me to deliver her baby. I still have the phone she pawned with me. With that, he pulled the phone from his bag, and I could see it was unmistakably Chelsea's. My parents were stunned into silence. This was undeniable proof that the child was definitely Chelsea's. The neighbors started buzzing with gossip. Chelsea had a child at such a young age. Who's the father? Who would have guessed? We hardly ever saw her, and she always wore such baggy clothes. I never imagined she was pregnant. Who knows which lowlife she hooked up with to get herself in this mess? How dare you spread such lies? My daughter is a good girl. That's when my mother shot up from her seat. Keep running your mouth and I'll rip it right off your face. Martin Hoyne sneered contemptuously. Ha! Chelsea told me to bring the baby straight to your house after giving birth, saying her sister would raise it. Officer, I even have a handwritten letter from Chelsea right here. With that, he pulled a letter from his bag. There was never any such letter in my previous life. When Chelsea returned and started berating me, Martin even jumped to her defense and drove me to my death. This bastard is no good man. Martin curled his lip. If I'd known, I wouldn't have come. What rotten luck. The officer sighed at the sight. This is your family matter, handle it yourselves. I grabbed the officer's arm. This is no family matter. How can you conclude my sister ran off after having a baby, just based on a phone and a letter? What if she dies at the clinic? The officer found the argument reasonable, so he immediately escorted Martin to the clinic. My parents followed them, and I hurriedly packed my bags. There's no way I'm staying in this house. After I stepped out, a neighbor spotted me and asked, Lynn, where are you off to? I'm moving out, that way, when the baby ends up with mom and dad, I won't be stuck raising it. Chelsea had a child out of wedlock herself. Why should I be responsible? I'm not even married yet. If my future in-laws see this, they'll think I've been fooling around. They nodded in agreement and said, You're absolutely right, Lynn. You've got to think of yourself. Go on, hurry up and get out of here. How tragic. Chelsea's got some nerve too, running off right after giving birth. Who knows if Martin killed her? No way. I didn't care what they were gossiping about and made a quick escape. By the time my parents got home, I had already left for the company dormitory. Almost immediately, my mom called. As soon as I answered, her voice was frantic. Lynn, where have you gone? With the sound of a child crying in the background, I calmly said, I moved out. How could you move out? What's going to happen to the child if you leave? It seems my mother and the others went to the clinic and confirmed the child is Chelsea's. That bastard Martin really did deliver Chelsea's baby. I just don't understand why they keep targeting me. Mom, what does this child have to do with me? It's not like I'm the one who gave birth. The most urgent thing right now is to find the child's father. I can't talk anymore. I have to get back to work. I'm hanging up. After hanging up, I went about my work as usual. Just then, Lisa from the office quietly slipped over to my side and asked, Lynn, do you have a boyfriend? Want me to set you up with someone? I was about to say no, but then I changed my mind. Sure, Lisa, who are you thinking of setting me up with? My nephew is 3 years older than you. He's an army veteran and now runs his own little diner. How about grabbing lunch together? I agreed right away, and Lisa was so thrilled she immediately called her nephew to set it up. In my previous life, I raised a child on my own. Seeing how exhausted I was, Lisa hooked me up with freelance gigs and kept urging me to find a man, but I was afraid my child might get hurt, so I didn't agree at the time. Looking back now, I was such a fool. I met up with Milo for a meal, and we both had a pretty good impression of each other. We exchanged WeChat and decided to spend some time getting to know each other first. When Lisa came back and asked me about it, I nodded and said, not bad, let's see how it goes. She was absolutely thrilled. Let me tell you, if this works out, he won't let you down. I've watched this boy grow up. He's tough as nails. I blushed, which only made Lisa more excited, and just like that, Milo and I started dating for 2 whole weeks. My parents didn't contact me, and I didn't go back home, but I never expected my mom to show up at my office. I was at work when the security guard suddenly called me. Lynn, come out quick. Your mom just dumped your son at our guard post. Hurry up and take him away. He's making a racket. My mind went blank at his words. What son? I'm not even married. How could I have a son? Stop talking nonsense. I deliberately raised my voice so everyone in the office could hear. The guard sounded exasperated. How should I know? Just come down and see for yourself. As soon as I hung up, everyone was staring at me. What's going on, Lynn? I have no idea. The security guard said someone claiming to be my mother just showed up with my son. Lisa gasped in disbelief. You're kidding me. That's a new one. Come on, let's go see what this is all about. Seriously, is this some kind of scam or what? Lynn has a son, but I never saw her pregnant. Maybe she had the kid years ago. Who knows? Young people these days have such messy private lives. Hearing this, Lisa also looked at me with suspicion. I feigned complete bewilderment, and Lisa couldn't tell I was pretending. When we reached the guard post and saw the newborn baby, everyone was stunned. Lisa breathed a sigh of relief. There's no way Lynn gave birth to this child. It looks like it's not even a month old. Exactly, who would be so vicious? If it had been a child a few years old. Lynn would never have been able to clear her name. This is just slandering my reputation, I scoffed inwardly as the security guard said helplessly. The person claimed to be Lynn's mother. How would I know? Hearing this, I asked him to check the surveillance footage, only to realize I didn't recognize the person who dropped off the child. Immediately, an idea struck me. Call the police. She's not my mother, and I don't know her. Everyone still seemed hesitant. So I threw up my hands and said, "This is an abandoned baby. I'm in sales. I've handed out countless business cards. Who knows who's pretending to be my mother? I'm not raising someone else's son." Everyone thought that made sense, so they called the police. When the officers arrived, they took the child away. I made a point of asking, "Where are they taking him? Where else? If they can't find his parents, he'll have to go to an orphanage." Hearing the definite answer, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I'm never taking care of this ungrateful wretch again in my life. Right after the police left, I got a WeChat message from my mom. "Lynn, your sister got in touch with us. She said she's going away for work. We're getting too old to raise her properly, so please treat her as your own." I immediately replied, "Mom, what are you talking about? I already have a boyfriend. When we get married, we'll have our own children. There's no way I'm keeping this baby." I didn't bring up what happened today, and she didn't mention it either, so I just acted like I didn't know. Milo was really good to me. We got engaged 6 months later. On our wedding day, I invited my parents and relatives. After that, we applied for a transfer to a branch office, and Milo moved his restaurant there as well. In the years that followed, I never went back except for holidays. Even if I go back, our meetings are always rushed before I have to leave again. I had a daughter, and 2 years later a son, completing the perfect family. My son was bright from a young age. At just 15, he was accepted into Tsinghua University's special program for gifted youth. The news thrilled our entire family. Milo went all out, taking the kids and the rest of us back to our hometown to throw a big celebratory banquet. All our relatives and friends showed up, even my parents came. Though our son Ryan is only 15. He's grown so tall and sturdy that he looks just as mature as our daughter. This led my parents to assume the child was Chelsea's. My mother held our son's hand and patted it, saying, "If only Chelsea knew how accomplished her child has become, she'd be overjoyed." "Mom, why bring up Chelsea on such a happy occasion? Did she come back?" My mother's eyes instantly shifted nervously. "No, she hasn't returned." Sigh. "All these years without visiting you too, something must have happened. I've heard most people who vanish into thin air are never found again." Over the years, relatives often gossiped about Chelsea. With my deliberate hints and neighborhood chatter, everyone knew Chelsea ran off right after giving birth, never showing up even during holidays. Everyone assumed Chelsea had vanished off the face of the earth. But only I knew that Mom and Dad had been secretly keeping in touch with her all along. Hearing me say that, my mother's face instantly darkened with displeasure. Her sharp voice cut through the entire hall. "What nonsense are you talking? Chelsea is alive and well." Immediately, everyone in the room turned to look, and my mother was left flustered and deeply embarrassed. I chuckled and said, "So it seems you're still in contact with Chelsea, Mom. Why hasn't she gone to find her son?" Abandoning her own son like that, she must not be doing well for herself. But forget it, I won't bring her up on such a happy occasion. My mother visibly relaxed upon hearing this. She opened her mouth as if to say something, and I waited, hoping she'd offer some explanation, but she remained silent, and that final shred of hope I'd been clinging to vanished completely. In my past life, just when that ungrateful wretch had achieved fame and success, Chelsea came back. It's the same story this time. I know she'll show up today, though I'm not sure exactly when, but I've stopped caring about that now. My son got into the Gifted Youth program. Tsinghua University sent over representatives, and there are even reporters here. All eyes were now fixed on our table. When our son took the stage as the guest of honor, my parents seemed to forget he was only 15. That child they called Chelsea's bastard, if he'd survived, would be about 18 by now. Oblivious to the irony, they kept glancing at their phones. I smirked inwardly, squeezing Milo's hand as we exchanged knowing smiles. My son stood on the stage and declared clearly, "Getting into Tsinghua University, the person I'm most grateful to is my mom. Without her support and understanding, I definitely wouldn't have achieved what I have today. Mom, come up here quickly." My son waved at me. I smoothed my dress and was about to go up when I heard a sharp shout, "She's not your mother. She doesn't deserve to stand up there." Hearing this, everyone turned to look at where the voice came from, and I also breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally happening. I turned to see who it was. Chelsea, with a flashy boss sporting a gold chain standing beside her. "She's here, finally here." I couldn't suppress my nervousness. After more than a decade apart, she looked just the same, yet worn down by life, far more than I was. Beneath the heavy makeup, crow's feet framed her eyes. She walked over arm in arm with a middle-aged man. My son Ryan furrowed his brow and asked, "And you are? This is your Aunt Chelsea." I stepped in and announced who she was. Chelsea burst out, "That's a lie, Lynn, sweetheart, I'm your real mother." The room erupted in gasps, and everyone stared at me in disbelief. My son raised his eyebrows defiantly. "You're the one lying, Auntie. I'm my mother's biological child. You're the one who abandoned your baby after giving birth. That child was raised by our grandparents." I've never tried to hide Chelsea's existence. When the kids asked about their grandparents at a young age, I told them straight up that yes, the elderly couple is still alive, but I have no intention of going back. I also explained how Chelsea had a baby and they forced me to adopt it. So the whole Milo family knows about the bad blood between Chelsea and me. At this, Chelsea burst into tears. "Son, she's lying to you. She's the one deceiving you. Right after I gave birth, I had the doctor bring the baby home for our parents to look after, but your mother stole you away. All these years, she stayed away because she was afraid you'd be found. Sister, why would you do this? I've spent all these years searching for my child. You can't tear a mother and child apart like this." At these words, everyone turned to look at her. Chelsea was sobbing uncontrollably, but soon noticed something was off. She glanced around and saw the contempt in everyone's eyes. Growing frantic, she cried, "Why won't you believe me? It really is her." "Hold on." Mabel stepped forward at that moment. "Chelsea, don't talk nonsense. When Martin brought the child over, he claimed it was Lynn's son. After Lynn beat him up, he changed his story and said it was your child. It wasn't until the police were called that he finally admitted you ran off after giving birth and dumped the child on your parents. How could two elderly people possibly raise a child? So they abandoned the baby." Hearing this, Chelsea was utterly stunned. My mother shot to her feet. "I didn't abandon the child. I had someone deliver them to Lynn's office." Mabel curled her lip. "I attended Lynn's wedding myself, and I certainly didn't see any child there." "Exactly, Clark. You two shouldn't go spreading baseless rumors." My mother grew frantic. "I arranged for the child to be taken to Lynn's office." "Chelsea, don't be foolish. Your sister raised your child all these years. You should be thanking her. Just look at this child. Got into Tsinghua University." My mother was genuinely afraid the situation would spiral out of control, especially when she saw the look in my eyes. She grew inexplicably frightened and immediately backtracked. Chelsea immediately wiped her tears and turned to me. "Sis, it seems I misunderstood, but son, I really am your birth mother." My son looked at her in astonishment, then at me. "That's nonsense. I'm not your son." My mother-in-law stepped forward and slapped her across the face. "How dare you talk such nonsense? That's my daughter-in-law's child, carried for 10 months. We have records from her first prenatal visit to the delivery. She nearly died from massive hemorrhaging during childbirth and had to be rushed to the provincial hospital. Do you know how many favors we called in to save her? How dare you claim my grandson is yours? Have you no shame?" My father-in-law stepped up and roared, "Keep spouting such lies, and I'll call the police to have you arrested." Chelsea's lips trembled, her face swollen and red from the beating. She cowered timidly, then suddenly stared at me. I raised an eyebrow, and she finally caught on. "It was you, Lynn. You're the one who faked it." The man beside her growled, "Your family's all high and mighty now. I heard you even opened a restaurant in the provincial capital. All that can be faked. The only real proof is a paternity test. Let's take the child for a paternity test, then everything will be clear." But my son refused. My in-laws stood by us, while my own parents took Chelsea's side. "Lynn, just give the child back to your sister." "Exactly. Think how hard Chelsea's had it out there all these years. Don't you already have 2 children? Just let her have this one back." All eyes turned toward us as murmurs spread through the crowd. What's really going on here? Did they snatch someone else's child and now refuse to return them after all these years? You can't just sever a bond built over a decade. They're sisters after all. They're family. That's bullshit. They've always claimed the child was biologically theirs. Why would they ever give the kid away? "Chelsea, you keep insisting the boy is yours, but where's your proof? Does the child have any birthmarks?" "Mom, did you actually see me taking that child with your own eyes?" Both of them looked stunned. I let out a cold laugh. "Forgot to mention, my son is only 15 this year, and he got into Tsinghua University's special class for the gifted young. Your son must be about 18. The age doesn't match up. You've mistaken him for your son." Hearing this, everyone finally caught on. "That's right, Ryan is 15 now. I actually attended his 1-month celebration when he was a baby." "Oh, now I remember, Ryan is the younger brother. Lynn didn't have him until her 3rd year of marriage." "Clark, Lynn didn't even invite you guys to that celebration." "Right, now it's coming back to me too." The look on Mom and Dad's faces was absolutely dreadful. Chelsea staggered back 2 steps, her face full of disbelief. You're lying. I get it now. You deliberately reported a younger age for the child just so you wouldn't have to return him to me." The crowd sneered, saying Chelsea had lost her mind. As soon as the words were spoken, a professor from Tsinghua University stepped forward. "You're the one who's lying. If that were truly the case, The admission qualification for Tsinghua's youth program would be revoked immediately. I will report this to the Ministry of Education without delay. Furthermore, we'll involve the police to investigate thoroughly. After all, Ryan was only 15 when he enrolled. At that moment, my son also took out his ID card. I'm willing to take a paternity test with you and report this to the police, but if I'm not your son, you'll have to face the consequences. I will never forgive you for spreading rumors, slandering, and defaming my mother. Ryan is the child I carried for 10 months and gave birth to. He has been sensible and filial since he was young. My in-laws have always treated me well, and my daughter is standing by my side. You're just bad-mouthing my mom without any evidence except your own words. My mom has the birth certificate, household registration, and ID card. What proof do you have? My mother suddenly turned pale. She looked at me and said, "You're lying. Lynn, if Ryan is really your son, then what about Chelsea's son?" I threw my hands up and said, "Probably at the orphanage." I pretended to have a sudden realization. That's right, 18 years ago when I was at work, there was indeed a day when security told me a woman was claiming to be my mother and wanted to drop off my son for me to take. After I came down, I checked the surveillance footage and realized I didn't know that person at all, so I called the police. The officers took the child away, presumably to the orphanage. My colleagues can vouch for this. If you don't believe me, go check the police records. At that, Chelsea let out a shriek and lunged at me to hit me, but I was quicker. I slapped her across the face. "How dare you hit me, Lynn? Give me back my son," I sneered coldly. "You beast, you ran off after giving birth to that bastard, pinned the child on me, and expected me to raise him for you. You've been out there living it up for over a decade. And now that you see my son has made something of himself, you come back to steal the fruit of my labor. Let me tell you, you don't have that kind of luck. How could a slacker like you ever give birth to a top student like my son? Dream on. Why don't you ask your mother who she sent to drop the child off at my company? Why couldn't she do it herself?" My mother panicked. Meeting Chelsea's gaze, she quickly explained, I was afraid Lynn wouldn't want to see me. So I paid a stranger to take the child over. I was hiding nearby, and I clearly saw Lynn holding the child. She suddenly turned to me. "Lynn, how could you be so heartless as to send the child away? That's your own nephew. That's your own grandson, and you don't even care?" Chelsea screamed hysterically. "Shut up, all of you. My son is Ryan. It's him. Lynn, you must have lied to me." The man with the gold chain chimed in grimly. "How could Derek's son end up in an orphanage, Chelsea? If you don't give me a proper explanation for this, you'll pay for it." Chelsea was panicking by then, so I pulled out my phone and called the police. Even the police couldn't handle the situation with Chelsea throwing a tantrum. In the end, I agreed to take a paternity test, and an expedited one at that. After that, my son went back to continue attending his college acceptance celebration. I assured the Tsinghua University teacher that there couldn't possibly be any mistake. All his documents were completely authentic. 2 hours later, the paternity test results came in. The moment Chelsea saw them, she completely broke down. I was the biological mother of the child. Chelsea was beside herself. She looked up at me with utter disbelief and asked, "Did you really send my child to an orphanage?" I threw my hands up in exasperation. How could I possibly raise some random child of unknown origin myself? I've told you countless times. Once I handed him over to the police, he was bound to end up in an orphanage. If we're lucky, he'll stay at the orphanage and you can still visit him. If luck's not on our side, he might get adopted before you know it. If I were you, I'd hurry over to the orphanage right now, before she could process what was happening. Derek slapped her across the face, sending her crashing to the ground. "You lying bitch, you promised to carry my child, and now I don't even know where the kid is, you worthless whore." Derek brutally kicked her, making Chelsea scream in agony. Our parents rushed to shield her, but they were no match for Derek's strength. Only then did my mother remember me. She grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Lynn, do something, quick. Are you just going to stand by and watch your sister get beaten to death?" I shook off her hand. "You stood by and let my sister drive me into a corner, didn't you? If I didn't have evidence today, I'd be labeled a child thief, a human trafficker. We're both your children. Why are you treating me like this?" My mother grew frantic. "Why are you keeping score like this? We're family, you're doing well. What's the problem with supporting one more person? I never should have held out hope for them." I pulled my hand away. "Sorry, I can't help. Either call the police or figure it out yourselves. I'm done with this." With the paternity test results in hand, I confronted the police directly. "For what happened today, I demand she makes a public apology and compensates me for emotional distress. She ruined my son's college acceptance celebration, and I won't let her get away with it." Milo then called in a lawyer to handle the matter, while we rushed back to attend our son's party. The Tsinghua University teacher also breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing the paternity test results. "That's good, at least your son's future won't be destroyed," they said. After the banquet ended, our family returned to the shop. Milo had also bought a house here. The next day, my parents called me in tears, pleading, "Lynn, please come quickly, let's go to the welfare home together, okay? I'm begging you, for my sake, please come help your sister, she's about to be beaten to death." Hearing this, I glanced at Milo. He gave me a nod. So I agreed and went with him to the welfare home. When we met, Chelsea's face was covered in bruises, swollen and battered. The moment she saw me, a flash of venomous resentment crossed her eyes. I let out a cold laugh. She brought this all upon herself. None of it had anything to do with me, but when we got to the orphanage, the staff told us the kid had run away long ago. Run away? What do you mean? Chelsea looked utterly shocked. He had sticky fingers, kept stealing things. After finishing vocational school, he dropped out and started dating. If you're looking for him, try the fried rice stall on Snack Street, that's where he hangs out. When we rushed to the Snack Street to ask around, we saw Tyler sitting behind a stall playing video games. In front of him stood a woman with a heavily pregnant belly, busy frying rice. At the woman's feet was a child who couldn't have been more than 3 years old. The sight left me utterly stunned. He's only 18 himself. How could he already have a 3-year-old child? This is just unbelievable. Looking at the woman again, she appeared to be around 30. Chelsea staggered over and asked, "Are you Tyler?" Without even looking up, he replied, "Yeah, what's it to you?" The woman's stir-frying rice shot Chelsea a suspicious look. "And you are? Who might you be?" "I'm his woman." "Who are you?" Chelsea was fuming. "Tyler's only 18, and you're what? Over 30. The woman banged the pot loudly. "So what? See this. The baby I'm carrying is his. What about this child?" "The one on the floor is from my ex-husband." Chelsea was about to faint. "You've been divorced, you old hag." Hearing this, the fried rice woman slapped Chelsea across the face with her spatula. "How dare you call me an old hag? You're the real old hag. You got beaten black and blue, and you still have the nerve to come here and mock me? Tyler, are you just going to stand there like a corpse? Someone dared to call your wife an old hag. Go teach her a lesson." Tyler scrambled to his feet and without a word slapped Chelsea across the face, leaving her stunned. Then Derek rushed out, shouting, "What the hell do you think you're doing, you punk?" The sight of the thick gold chain made Tyler instantly back down, hiding behind the woman. "You think someone like you could be my son? Don't get it twisted." I compared the photo I got from the orphanage with Tyler, and it was definitely him. "That's right, Tyler. These are your biological parents." Tyler stared at them in disbelief. "No way. If you don't believe me, get a paternity test. See your dad and mom's clothes. They're loaded." Tyler's eyes lit up instantly. He quickly pulled the woman over. "See, these are my parents. Your baby will have a great life. Sorry I didn't recognize you earlier. My apologies." Chelsea looked at them with immediate disgust and stammered, "Impossible. There's no way you could be my son." I couldn't resist stirring the pot. "Chelsea, how could you do this? You haven't come home for over a decade, and now you return only to find your biological son, yet when he's standing right in front of you, you deny him." Milo chimed in to twist the knife. "You keep saying your son is the most outstanding, but now that he's here before you, don't say such things, you'll break the poor boy's heart." Chelsea was so furious with the two of us she nearly fainted. I nudged Tyler and said, "Quick, find a place where your dad and mom can treat you to a meal. Get a paternity test while you're at it. Time to claim your rightful place in the family." Last night, Milo had already asked someone to look into Derek's background. That flashy gold chain of his is fake, and Derek isn't any businessman, he's just a deadbeat living off others. All these years he's accomplished nothing, just came sniffing around for our family's money. Little did he know I never gave him the slightest opening. Seeing his own son in this state left him utterly stunned. But I wasn't about to let him off the hook. Only when both parties got the results at the paternity testing center did I finally relax. Trash genes deserved to stay together. My parents were floored too. This red-haired punk standing before us actually had a child of his own, and to top it off, she's been married before. They were shaking with rage. After dropping them off at their parents' old house, I turned around and left with Milo. Chelsea panicked. It was too late for explanations now. Tyler was convinced they had money and had moved into their parents' house with his wife. With Chelsea's return, there was no place for her to stay. All 7 family members were crammed into that tiny home. Mabel told me their family is in complete chaos. Tyler wants to get married and is demanding a 200,000 yuan bride price. The woman is relentless, also insisting on a gift, bringing the total to over 300,000 yuan. How could they possibly come up with that kind of money? Those two good-for-nothings were just trying to scam me, but they didn't expect I'd prepared in advance and handed their worthless son right back to them. Now they're refusing everything and full of regret, but I'm no fool, I won't lift a finger to help them. When Tyler realized they couldn't get the money, he beat Derek with a stick. When my parents tried to intervene, they got hit too. My father collapsed unconscious on the spot, and my mother was pushed down the stairs and broke her leg. Chelsea tried to run, but Tyler broke her arm. When I got to the hospital, I found them lying there moaning in pain. My mom grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Lynn, I was wrong, I admit it. Can you please help us? Just make him leave." "Mom, how could we do that? He's Chelsea's own son, your own grandson. He turned out this way precisely because he never had parents to guide him. You have to give him all your love and help him get back on the right path." My mother was utterly devastated upon hearing this. I pulled my hand back, paid her medical bill, and walked away without another thought. When Chelsea came begging for money, too pained to even lift her arm, I shoved her aside without hesitation. "You mean nothing to me, Chelsea. You ruined my son's college celebration yesterday and slandered me. We're not done settling that score. You still have the nerve to ask me for money. In your dreams, I'll only provide the bare minimum for our parents' support, nothing beyond that. I fell for their schemes in my past life, and I won't be fooled again in this one." After I left, my parents were still there crying and carrying on. Mabel would occasionally update me, saying that Tyler had stubbornly overstayed his welcome at their house, and my parents had essentially become his caretakers. That woman had the baby, a boy. With that, it became even more impossible for them to leave. Tyler would constantly demand money from them, and if they refused, he'd resort to violence. He even forced Chelsea to set up a street stall. Basically, the entire family was working just to fund his lifestyle. It's just perfect how this whole rotten family is stuck together. 6 months later, Milo and I went back to our hometown to deal with the property. We planned to sell the house and settle down in the capital with our son and daughter. I saw Chelsea. It had only been half a year, but she looked over a decade older, her hair already streaked with gray. When she saw me, she rushed over frantically. "Lynn, it shouldn't be like this. You were supposed to have jumped to your death. All your money should be mine, all of it." She chased after my car, screaming her lungs out. A cold smirk curled on my lips. She had been reborn too, but fate had played a cruel trick on her timing. In this lifetime, she'll never lay a finger on me again. Let her rot away with her worthless son for all I care. Story 2. I keep 3 stunning male concubines, yet none of them love me. Then the system approached me, demanding I dismiss my harem to conquer the realm. But when the dismissal order came, those who once despised me grabbed my shoulders with gritted teeth. "If not me, who else could you possibly love?" I keep 3 male consorts. The first is an exiled minister's son turned courtesan, ethereal as moonlight, whom I compelled to enter my household. The second, a wild foreign youth untamed as a wolf cub, was taken by force to my chambers. The third's origins remain unknown. This aloof, shadowed beauty I plucked from the pauper's burial ground. 1. I've been treating them like royalty, yet all 3 give me nothing but cold shoulders. Why bother, host? The system pleaded earnestly. With supreme power, you could have any man you desire, a harem of 3,000, filled with Adonises like Penon and Wagia, as many as you wish. That makes perfect sense. I nodded like a bobblehead, yet I still have reservations about vying for supremacy. My imperial father was utterly debauched, with over a dozen children each holding fiefdoms. Who knows how many underhanded schemes they've plotted against each other. Even so, none of them ever targeted me. See how reliable I am. The system sneered. Don't worry, host, with me here, you'll be invincible. Scatter, I'll dismiss them right away. I leapt onto the carriage and went to see Silas. He was my first kept man. For years ago, when the Chancellor was convicted of corruption, Silas, that ethereally beautiful noble youth, was dragged onto the auction block. His slight struggle earned him an immediate pin to the ground, jet black hair cascading like a waterfall, resembling a crane with broken wings. Below the stage, a crowd of pot-bellied dignitaries and wealthy merchants gazed at him with drooling desire. Passing by, I couldn't bear to see such an innocent soul being defiled, so I bought his freedom. When the emperor learned of this, he refused to hear my defense and had me severely beaten with 30 strokes. The flesh split open, dripping with fresh blood. Ignoring the pain, I limped towards Silas, fearing the servants might give him trouble. He sat pristine in the waterside pavilion, his gaze swept over my blood-stained hem, eyes brimming with disgust. "Did you think playing the martyr would make me grovel with gratitude? A vulgar woman like you disgusts me." The carriage soon arrived at the mansion, but as I tried to enter, the gatekeeper stopped me. "The young master isn't receiving visitors today. Please leave." Taken aback, I pointed at my own face. "Look closely. I am the 11th princess." The servant wore an arrogant sneer. "The young master said he'd rather keep company with courtesans than see the princess." I saw red with rage. This is my own house. How dare my own consort lock up the princess of the north? I took a deep breath and kicked the door open. The courtyard stood silent with white walls and grey tiles, swaying bamboos, and a meandering stream. As aloof as its master, Silas sat poised before the piano, his snow-white robes pristine, yet his eyes held a frosty detachment. At the sight of me, his fingers stilled, the music cutting off abruptly, barging in uninvited. "How uncouth of you, princess." My bravado instantly deflated as I scratched my head in awkward embarrassment. Oh, sorry, something urgent came up. Didn't you always want to leave? I've made up my mind. Go ahead. He froze momentarily, a mocking smile playing at the corner of his lips. Oh, is this Her Highness's little game? As if convinced I was merely playing hard to get, I had no choice but to explain. No tricks. I genuinely intend to let you go. From now on, you go your way and I'll go mine. We're through. In all honesty, I treated him with utmost devotion. When he loved the cheen, I gathered renowned instruments across the land and hired master luthiers for his study. When he admired the moon, I built him a moonview pavilion exclusively for his enjoyment. When he fancied Longjing tea, I handpicked the tenderest leaves from mountaintops and brewed them with morning dew, serving him personally each day. Yet he said, "Is this how the princess tarnishes my reputation before the world, with such filthy lucre?" I simply thought this face would look beautiful when smiling. But no matter how I tried to please him, he never once smiled at me. Silas fell silent for a moment before slowly rising and stepping before me, his icy gaze locking onto mine. "Your Highness truly wishes me to leave." Silas froze, a flicker of surprise flashing in his eyes. "Are you certain? If I walk away today, I won't look back." I stepped aside. My past mistakes were on me. Safe travels. Seeing me like this, Silas looked stunned, momentarily at a loss for how to react. Suddenly, he let out a cold laugh. "Is this the princess's little trick? Who knew you'd mastered this art of feigned retreat to advance? Your theatrics make me sick. I thought this person was just aloof. Turns out they're downright stupid." At this thought, my voice unconsciously softened with pity. "Take your time packing. There's no hurry. Take any servant you're fond of with you. You'd struggle to survive alone otherwise, too." I shook my head, suppressing a twinge of compassion. Forced love never lasts. After all, when I become king, there'll be 3,000 more melons lining up for me to pick. As if finally comprehending my resolve, Silas shuddered, his face gradually draining of color. I turned to leave when he suddenly grabbed my wrist, his voice trembling. "Are you really giving up on me?" I couldn't understand his expression. Why did he look at me like I was the one who betrayed him? But being a patient princess, I carefully corrected him. "That's not right. How could it be me abandoning you? Haven't you always wanted freedom? Today you finally got your wish. You should be happy." I thought I made my point rather well. Otherwise, why would Silas have let go and stopped holding me back? I stepped into the carriage and instructed the coachman to take me to the next estate. After some distance, I glanced back. To my surprise, Silas, who never showed himself in public, had followed me to the gate. He watched my carriage depart, his solitary figure radiating quiet desolation, but I couldn't spare him another thought. I had to go see Lorraine. I settled each of my 3 consorts in separate estates, every courtyard meticulously tailored to their preferences. That's precisely why none of them knew about the other's existence. Lauren's residence was just a modest cabin, but the grounds were vast enough for a dozen thoroughbreds to gallop freely. Beyond that lay the training grounds, where an arsenal of traditional weapons stood in perfect rows, with half a dozen martial arts masters at his beck and call. As I passed through the courtyard gate, I spotted the mounted figure from afar. He saw me too, and with a sharp tug of the reins, his steed whinnied and charged toward me. I waved with a smile, only to be caught off guard as he suddenly raised his riding crop and lashed out at me. I dodged in panic as the whip whistled past, narrowly missing my cheek. Looking up, I saw the handsome youth sneering from horseback. His voice carried a hint of disdain. "Your Highness, long time no see." I inexplicably chickened out and nodded with an awkward laugh. "Haven't seen you in a while. You've gotten much better at speaking like a human." Loren was someone I brought back from the grasslands. His gluttony for meat landed him in one of my hunting traps. When I pulled him out, I saw a gaunt, sallow-faced teenager. They say he was raised by wolves. When I found him, he couldn't even speak human language, just howled and trailed after the wolf pack. Seeing he'd starved to death this way, I ignored my attendant's protests and gave him all the food I had. Little did I know he'd follow me all the way from the grasslands to the central plains, but no sooner had we entered the capital than he came down with a raging fever. When the fever broke, he'd forgotten everything. Convinced I'd kidnapped him from the steppes, he regarded me with bitter hostility, as if I were his mortal enemy. I can't explain it, because that brute doesn't understand human language. Lorraine gave a cold laugh, dismounted, and advanced toward me step by step. "Your Highness, when will you release me back to the grasslands? This place is too cramped. I can't sleep well at night." His movements were nimble yet lethal, with wolf-like intensity gleaming in his eyes. My heart pounded like a drum as I blurted out, "Don't hit me. I'm here to set you free today." Loren froze mid-motion, the hostility in his eyes faded, replaced by bewilderment and confusion. I nodded, trying to appear as sincere as possible. I know this isn't your home, you should return to where you truly belong, so go ahead, I won't stop you. He stopped in his tracks and stared at me for a long moment, as if weighing the truth of my words. I nodded. You Central Plains folk are always so cunning. Are you playing me for a fool? Unbeknownst to him, his words carried a hint of anticipation even he hadn't noticed. I shook my head vehemently. No, I really mean to let you go home. I expected him to be overjoyed, but to my surprise, Loren fell silent for a moment, his eyes glimmering with a trace of grievance. So now that you've had your fun, you're just going to cast me aside, and he has the nerve to act hurt. I'm the one who's genuinely wronged here. I was the one who nursed him back from skin and bones, carefully building him into that proud, dashing young man, yet he repays me with nothing but bitter hatred. Very well, let's consider the matter settled. I had someone bring the things I packed for him. When I first rescued you, all you had was this tattered fur coat. I've mended it. Here, take it back. And this crimson riding suit you instantly fell in love with. Keep it as a memento. Is there anything else you desire? His face paled, as if struggling to find words through his shock. As I turned to leave, his hushed voice called after me, Your Highness, do you truly mean to send me away? I halted mid-step and turned to look at him. He stood in the wind, his eyes reflecting a vulnerability and confusion I'd never seen before. I was stunned. After a moment's silence, Loren whirled around abruptly. He swung onto his horse and shot me a final glance, his eyes blazing with fury. I'm out of here. Don't come crying to me later. With a crack of the whip, the steed neighed and galloped away in a cloud of dust. His anger came out of nowhere, but at least he left without a fuss. Saved me a lot of trouble. After inspecting the courtyard, I decided the wooden shed was in the way and had it torn down. I planned to clear this area out and make it my training ground. Next, it's time to meet my last kept man, Kieran. I found this one in a mass grave, among my 3 consorts. He's the rare one who can hold a brief conversation with me, though never more than a few words. If I ramble beyond 5 sentences, he'll stare at me with that condescending look reserved for idiots. Kieran resides in a meticulously symmetrical courtyard house with double courtyards, crossing the arched bridge over the koi pond. I noticed servants moving about their duties in hushed efficiency, every detail perfectly arranged. Entering the main hall, I found Kieran seated upright in the host's chair, completely absorbed in an ancient tome. As I approached, he flashed me a knowing smile. Your Highness graces us today. What troubles bring you here? I adore his handsome features, though his personality leaves much to be desired, for he always insists on prying about court affairs through roundabout questions. I took a deep breath and met his gaze directly. Kieran, this princess is dismissing all her consorts. You may leave. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes before his expression smoothed into composure, his lips curling into an enigmatic half-smile. Your Highness, are you certain of what you're saying? Was it just my imagination, or did I catch a glimpse of cruelty flickering in his eyes? A shiver ran down my spine as I abruptly changed my tone. Well, if you don't want to leave, you can stay a couple more days. It's not like I have any use for this mansion anyway. Might as well keep him around like a pet. Kieran set down his book, rose to his feet, and walked toward me step by step. I swallowed hard, the air between us turning thick with tension. He stopped before me, then suddenly reached up to brush his fingers against my cheek, his voice a low murmur. Princess, do you truly wish for me to leave? An overwhelming sense of oppression hit me, and I instinctively stepped back. The ferocity in his eyes vanished instantly, replaced by bottomless tenderness. The moment I saw you in the mass grave, you became my only obsession in this life. His cool fingers traced my face with featherlight touches, as if caressing a priceless treasure. If you want me to leave, I'll go. But whenever you need me, Kieran will be there for you. I stammered and stumbled backward before turning to flee onto the carriage. Host, the system suddenly spoke up. That guy's watching you. I turned around to see Kieran standing silently in the doorway, his inscrutable gaze locked onto me. After dealing with those 3 gigolos, I slept like a baby. Just past midnight, Silas' maid urgently woke me. Master Silas has suddenly fallen ill with a brain condition and is suffering unbearable headaches. Please send someone immediately. My sweet dreams interrupted. I wore an expression of utter irritation. For headaches, summon a physician. What use is waking me when I've no medical skills? My impatient expression only made the maid weep more pitifully. As if I'd committed some grave offense, I had no choice but to go. Arriving at the bamboo garden, I found Silas' door tightly shut, with only faint candlelight seeping through the window cracks. Pushing the door open, I saw him sitting composedly by the waterside pavilion, utterly at ease. Didn't you say you had a headache? He remained aloof, not even sparing me a glance. I was absolutely fuming. Whatever. Since we're already here, might as well have the imperial physician check his pulse. This young master appears quite frail, showing clear signs of cold syndrome, likely from severe frostbite in his youth that left lasting damage. Severe frostbite. Only then did I notice his pallid complexion, beads of cold sweat glistening at his temples. My heart softened toward him. I've suffered from this illness before, so I know how excruciating the attacks can be. Back when I was 5, my father the emperor whimsically decided to form a child soldier brigade. He took his imperial children along with 30-odd offspring of court officials to Hunting Mountain. We set up camp by an icy mountain pool, only for bandits to kidnap me from my tent at midnight and throw me into the freezing waters. The pond water pierced me to the bone, my limbs froze stiff, and I sank like a stone. When I came to, I was back in my own residence. I've no idea how I survived. Only that my third brother's attempt to assassinate the crown prince accidentally struck me instead. The incident left me with chronic winter sickness and permanently disqualified me from the line of succession. Now, to think there's someone who shares my miserable fate. I gazed at Silas, a strange emotion welling up in my chest. So it's you, Silas. Silas looked up at me with softened eyes, his sculpted fingers gently covering the back of my hand. 11, do you remember? So you're actually ill. You'd better stay a few more days then, when you leave. I'll give you extra money for treatment and send a renowned physician with you. How does that sound? I truly believed I was being compassionate, but Silas' expression instantly darkened, his face turning cold. Since there's nothing urgent, your highness may take your leave now. A man and woman alone together at this late hour. I beg your highness to consider my reputation. You're the one who summoned me here. Reputation. You were holding my hand just moments ago. Men are such fickle creatures. His hot and cold attitude left me utterly bewildered, so I got up and headed home. The moment I stepped inside, I spotted a pair of glowing eyes on the ceiling beam. Ghost. I let out a scream before realizing the figure was Loren. He landed with a thud, eyeing me with an awkward expression. Why, are you tearing down my house? It took me a moment to process what he meant. Since you're gone, what's the point of keeping that cabin I'll never use? Loren froze, a wounded look flashing through his eyes. Do you really want me to leave? How could you just throw me away like this? I was utterly astonished. Wait, you were the one who kept insisting on leaving. Loren would throw tantrums about running away from home every few days, worried his naivety might get him into trouble. I'd track him down no matter how late it was. Once when Loren was playing with fire and nearly burned down the villa, I scolded him. Then at midnight, servants came reporting he'd gone missing. I scrambled through half the capital in panic until I spotted his crimson silk hair ribbon by the lotus pond. Thinking he'd fallen in, I plunged into the pond in desperation but found no trace of him. Shivering with cold and fear, I collapsed weeping by the water's edge. Turning around, I saw the boy perched on a tree branch, looking down at me with smug superiority. That's what you get for scolding me today. Well, scared now, aren't you? Don't expect me to always wait around for you out of pity. At this thought, I let out a sigh. Back then, I stopped you because I feared you'd die on your way back to the grasslands. I've come to realize, no one in this world is truly indispensable to another. Go ahead. Loren pressed her lips tightly together, her face flushing crimson by degrees. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the door. Startled, Loren rolled over and vanished into the night in an instant. When I opened the door, it turned out to be Kieran. What's going on tonight? These 3 consorts have sought me out more times tonight than in an entire year combined. Say that again. Kieran seemed like a different person, his eyes dark and brooding, his breath tinged with alcohol. 11th princess, why must you be so disobedient? Wouldn't it be better to just behave and do nothing? I stumbled backward in shock. Kieran, you're drunk. He let out a cold laugh and wrapped his arm around my waist. I may be a little drunk, but I know exactly what I'm doing. Princess 11, you belong to me. There's no escape. Let go of me or I'll scream. I shoved him away with all my strength. Call for help. At this ungodly hour, how long would they take to come? A mocking glint flashed in Kieran's eyes as he leaned down, his face nearly touching mine. Or perhaps you'd like them to see you. In that state, a chill ran down my spine. Kieran, you're insane. Let go. I was about to struggle when suddenly I heard a dull thud. Kieran staggered, slowly turned his head, then collapsed. I spun around in panic to see Loren emerging from the shadows, gripping a wooden club. He angrily kicked Kieran before glaring at me. You kicked me out for this guy. Before I could respond, Loren shook his head again. No way you'd go for this scrawny wolf. He's clearly up to no good. My heart skipped a beat. If it weren't for hating being forced, just based on Kieran's looks alone, I'd be more than willing. 5. Don't be afraid. Loren's voice softened unusually. I'll help you sort this out. With that, he hoisted Kieran over his shoulder, leapt through the window, and vanished without a trace. The next day, I heard Kieran had been stripped naked and dumped on the busiest street in the capital. Utterly humiliated, I half expected Kieran to come after me, but to my surprise, he stayed away for a long time. Instead, rumors began circulating in the capital about my debauchery, that I forced decent men into my household as kept lovers. The rumors kept circulating, even dredging up my past of sheltering Silas, the disgraced minister's son, being a woman. I instantly became the target of widespread condemnation across the capital. In the palace, my father wore a frosty expression, his voice dripping with reproach. "I told you to deal with Silas long ago. How dare you still delay? The royal family's dignity is in ruins because of you. How dare you?" I nodded repeatedly, reciting the lines the system had taught me. "Your Majesty speaks true. I've dismissed them all and shall mend my ways. This unworthy son begs permission to retire to my fiefdom, where I shall live in seclusion to atone for my crimes. After all, I'm just an unfavored princess." The emperor barely hesitated before granting his approval. I returned to my residence in high spirits to pack my belongings. This damned capital, I've wanted out for ages. To my surprise, the moment I stepped inside, servants informed me Kieran was waiting in the pavilion. Just the thought of how he looked that night sends chills down my spine, yet he made no mention of that night. Instead, asking me kindly, "Might I inquire what brings your highness to the palace today?" Knowing the emperor's decree would soon be known throughout the capital, I answered truthfully. A strange glint flashed in Kieran's eyes. "The journey from the capital is long and lonely. Why not have Kieran accompany her highness?" I shook my head repeatedly. "You must be joking. I wouldn't dare go near you again." Kieran frowned, about to say something. Suddenly the door burst open as a white-robed figure glided in. It was Silas. "Well, that's odd. They used to avoid me like the plague, but now they won't leave me alone no matter what." "Princess, I've heard some troubling rumors lately. Are you all right? Has His Majesty reprimanded you?" As the words left his mouth, he spotted Kieran standing beside me. Silas froze, his expression instantly turning icy. "You've been avoiding me." For him, I was about to explain when Kieran spoke up. "The princess and I have urgent matters to discuss. Unrelated parties should withdraw." Silas ignored him completely, those peach blossom eyes locked intensely on me. "What's your relationship with him?" Kieran smiled faintly. "I am, naturally, the 11th princess's most favored consort." I panicked, too late to cover Kieran's mouth. Silas's face visibly darkened, the air around him turning several degrees colder. 11. Is what he said true? I stammered under his stern gaze, suddenly feeling a pang of hurt. He's the one who disliked me, who rejected me, and now he's here making accusations with such fury. What exactly did I do wrong? "Silas, it was you who accused me of humiliating you, wishing you could flee far away. Now that I've agreed, you're suddenly making excuses." "Silas, what exactly do you want from me?" My tearful cries drained the color from Silas's face. Kieran stood by, sneering. "Looks like someone tried to have their cake and eat it too, only to bundle it and land themselves in a pickle. How pathetic." As the two were about to come to blows, I rushed to intervene, only for another figure to drop unexpectedly from the rafters. "How dare you spout nonsense, you scrawny wolf. 11 clearly has feelings for me." Loren exploded like gunpowder, charging forward before even finishing his sentence. The three of them instantly descended into chaos. I couldn't mediate between them. The moment I calmed one down, the other flared up, leaving me utterly overwhelmed. Finally couldn't hold back and roared, 6, shut the hell up. I don't love any of you. Get the hell out. Don't interfere with my my royal ambitions." Kieran's face darkened as he turned and walked away. Loren gave me a wounded lip before finally leaving under my stern gaze. Only Silas remained, his face ashen with a shattered expression. Finally, he cupped his hands in farewell and staggered into the night. "Silas, I owe this to Princess 11's grace." After the trio departed, I could finally set out in peace. Fearing mishaps on the road, I followed the system's instructions to deploy 3 identical carriages as decoys, yet unforeseen trouble still arose midway through the journey. 20 or 30 bandits blocked my carriage. Not wanting trouble, I decided to pay them off for safe passage. To my shock, they seemed to have anticipated this and charged straight at my carriage. As the bandits closed in, my heart skipped a beat. At this critical moment, a dark figure leaped down from the carriage roof like lightning. It's Loren. With agile movements, he thrust his longsword straight at the lead bandit. Before the bandit could react, he collapsed in a pool of blood. Loren darted through the bandits with ruthless precision. Though outnumbered, the brigands fell before his blade like wheat before a scythe. Within moments, the raiders lay dead or wounded. The survivors swiftly subdued by my men. I exhaled in relief. Yet unease gnawed at me. They knew my route, the number of my guards, even which vehicle I was in. Whoever did this seems to know me well. I turned around to find Loren silently crouching by the roadside. Loren, just go. I really don't need a male concubine anymore. I won't be your kept man. I'll be your guard. He lifted his head, fixing me with that stubborn gaze. My eyes widened. Keep me. I'm useful to you. In the past, I reined him in to prevent trouble. Now that I've loosened the leash, he refuses to leave. A wolf cub raised too long can never leave its master. Just to be safe, I consulted the system. Host, scans indicate he has no knowledge of this matter. Moreover, his combat skills are exceptional, a true martial arts expert. I recommend keeping him. I kept Loren by my side. Later, I retreated to my fiefdom and began training troops behind closed doors. 5 years later, the emperor met a sudden demise when news spread. My dozen siblings rose in rebellion from their respective territories. Before long, an ominous prophecy suddenly emerged among my troops. Where stars fall, the dragon's might gathers. All lands shall yield to the 11th heir of destiny. Shortly after the prophecy appeared, a meteorite crashed within my fiefdom. Whispers spread across the land, proclaiming me the true sovereign chosen by heaven's mandate. My face turned pale with shock. This made me the target of public criticism. Someone's out to get me. Just then, someone strolled casually into the tent. It's Kieran. I've heard the rumors troubling you. Princess, might I offer counsel, if you permit? I stared at him for a long moment. I'll manage without your help. Kieran chuckled and settled comfortably to the side. 7. Why the trouble? If the princess would have me. Kieran stands ready to ease her pressing concerns. I mirrored his smile. Unnecessary. Before long, 2 or 3 more rumors began circulating. The rumors targeted my other siblings, complete with bizarre tales like prophetic fishgut scriptures and heaven-sent meteorites. The system handles such matters with far greater finesse than any human could. Karen's face instantly turned ashen. It seems I've underestimated Her Highness. Host, I've discovered that the previous rumors about you were spread by this very person. He intended to use them to coerce you into keeping him, never expecting you'd see through his scheme, the system said. Does he really think I'm that stupid? Though I'd dismissed Kieran, doubts about his true identity began gnawing at me. System, run a background check on this person for me. As rumors spread, my siblings grew suspicious of each other, descending into constant infighting. Seizing the opportunity, I sent Loren to forge alliances on my behalf, through gradual encroachment, strategic retreats, divide and conquer tactics, and shrewd alliances. My influence steadily expanded, until I faced the former crown prince, as the mightiest among all princes. Confronting him left me repeatedly defeated. It seemed he knew my tactics all too well. This eerie familiarity mirrored that ambush when I left the capital. I spent the entire night in deep thought, and at dawn the next day, I summoned Loren and entrusted him with military command. The young man was deeply moved and swore to me that he would defend our lands with his life. Meanwhile, I slipped alone into the Crown Prince's capital city. Host, I've learned the Crown Prince is hosting a banquet for his ministers tonight. You could disguise yourself as a maid to infiltrate the palace and gather intelligence. With the system's assistance, I slipped in effortlessly, amidst the clinking glasses. I never expected to spot Silas. Could he have told the Crown Prince about me? Stunned, I accidentally made noise with my footsteps. Silas' gaze swept across and seemed to spot me, his face registering shock. I turned to leave when an unexpected chuckle came from behind. 11th sister, since you're here, why not stay a while? The cold steel of a blade pressed against my neck. I was dragged into the hall and forced to kneel at the Crown Prince's feet. Clad in imperial robes, his face bore traces of drunkenness, yet his eyes gleamed with ruthless cunning. 11th sister, I've sorely underestimated you. Back in the capital, you were just a feeble-minded invalid. Now, only you and I remain as contenders for the throne. What a pity, you're still one move short. He drew a gleaming dagger, casting a smirk at Silas. Silas, she humiliated you relentlessly in the capital. Today, I grant you vengeance. Kill her. Silas took the dagger and stepped before me. His billowing sleeves concealed his hands, revealing only the gleaming blade. Straining to lift my head, I saw frost in his eyes, just like that first encounter. So he truly does hate me. Silas's dagger came down. His hand was steady, the icy blade piercing straight through my heart. I couldn't tell whether the physical pain hurt more than the anguish in my soul. I collapsed, hearing a faint whisper in my ear. 11, don't hate me. I don't know how long passed before I woke up. Complete darkness surrounded me, filled with the scent of cedarwood. I was actually sealed inside a coffin. I tried to move, but found myself completely paralyzed, unable to budge an inch. What's happening to me? Could Silas truly despise me so much as to slowly suffocate me in this coffin? In my panic, I suddenly noticed several tiny air holes along the coffin's side. Suddenly, a faint rustling sound came from the surroundings. 11, are you awake? It was Silas's voice. I stayed silent. After a brief pause, he let out a sigh. I'm sorry. I know you might blame me for this. The Crown Prince is paranoid that sword thrust was a last resort. The blade didn't hit any vital organs. You'll recover fully with proper rest. Silas added that he hadn't fully gained the Crown Prince's trust yet, and was now effectively under house arrest in the royal residence. He hid me in a safe place, waiting for the right moment to help me escape the capital. I remained silent, but Silas didn't seem to mind. With newfound determination, he spoke softly, "Don't be afraid. No matter what happens, I'll stay by your side, host." The system's voice echoed in my mind. I've detected that everything Silas said was true. What's your plan? After a long silence, I finally spoke. Silas, truth be told, I never blamed you. 11. His voice carried a hint of pleasant surprise. You're awake. How are you feeling? Any better? I remained silent. 8. Silas, I need you to do something for me. Now that we're in the lion's den, it'd be a shame not to take the lion's head. Help me live again. I'm sorry, perhaps I finally understand your heart, but now, I have no heart left for love. I believe in Silas's abilities. The fact that he could hide someone like me right under the Crown Prince's nose shows he's not to be underestimated. Silas managed to get word of me to Loren. Loren moved swiftly. A few nights later, flames shot into the sky, illuminating the entire capital. Amid the chaos, Silas dragged my coffin out of the prince's residence. After slipping past layers of guards, just as we neared the city gates, he opened the coffin and reached up to me. 11. I'm taking you home. I nodded and was about to place my hand in his palm. Then disaster struck. A sharp arrow whistled through the air, heading straight for Silas. Meanwhile, the clamor of battle cries erupted outside. A voice shouted, "By order of the Crown Prince, Silas is guilty of treason. Execute him on the spot." Silas shielded the coffin behind him, deflecting incoming arrows with his sword. I followed the trajectory of the arrows with my gaze. Through the billowing dust emerged the figure of the Crown Prince. The strategist was right. Using you as bait did lure out all the rebels in one sweep. The Crown Prince burst into maniacal laughter. I froze in faint stillness, yet clearly saw the familiar face behind him. "Kieran, I knew it was you." "Silas, our Lord values talent. Surrender the 11th princess, and you shall retain your high station." Before Kieran's words faded, Silas flatly refused. "I merely seek to honor the princess's final wish, to return her remains to her homeland for burial. I beg your highness's understanding." The Crown Prince's eyes narrowed dangerously. 11th sister. "Is she truly dead?" Silas stepped aside. "If your highness doubts it, you may examine her yourself." The Crown Prince's eyes flickered momentarily, but in the end, he didn't step forward. It was Kieran who checked my breathing and pulse, confirming I showed no signs of life. He shook his head at the Crown Prince. The next moment, Silas suddenly let out a frenzied scream. "The poor princess perished, yet must suffer the indignity of exhumation. Heaven shows no mercy at all." Drawing his peachwood sword, he pointed it skyward and roared, "Our Lady, the chosen one by divine will, was murdered by vile sorcerers. Her spirit cannot rest in peace. If heaven has eyes and favors Our Lady, let celestial lightning guide her soul back, resurrect her from death." As the words echoed, a thunderbolt descended from the heavens, striking the coffin with tremendous force. Amidst swirling crimson dust, I slowly rose to my feet, wreathed in violet lightning, her hair flowing freely. Her body slowly ascended midair like a goddess descending to the mortal realm. "Host, the neon light effects will only last 10 minutes. Make it count," the system reminded. Instantly, the army's morale shattered as countless soldiers dropped their weapons, prostrating themselves before me in worship. The princess has returned to life. The chosen one, destined by fate." Kieran and the Crown Prince turned pale, their eyes filled with disbelief. My gaze settled on Kieran. "Kieran, or should I call you, the 19th prince of the great Crown dynasty?" The system revealed the truth to me. There was never any life-saving grace. Our meeting at the mass graves was nothing but a calculated scheme. Who said a princess and prince would live happily ever after? Kieran's pupils constricted sharply before he quickly regained his composure. I then turned my head toward the Crown Prince. "Elder brother, you were always the wisest among us. What a pity your brilliance ultimately paved the way for another's triumph." Realizing he'd been manipulated, the Crown Prince flew into a rage and immediately ordered his guards to seize Kieran. Not to be outdone, Kieran led his defected soldiers in a counterattack. Chaos erupted at the city gates in an instant. Loren and Silas shielded me as we retreated step by step toward the gates. The neon glow still radiating from me made everyone hesitate to block my path. Just as the city gates came into view, a whistling sound suddenly cut through the air behind us. I whirled around, my face draining of color. There, impaled upon a spear tip, was the Crown Prince's severed head. Kieran's eyes gleamed with malice as he knocked an arrow, taking deadly aim at Silas. With all my strength, I shoved Silas aside as the arrow grazed past my ribs. 9 men, seize Prince Kieran of the enemy kingdom. Loren reacted swiftly, driving his sword backward toward Kieran in a flash. The two became locked in combat, their blades clashing with showers of sparks. In a flash, Kieran darted sideways, attempting to break through Lauren's encircling swordplay, yet Silas moved with lightning speed, his blade slicing straight for Kieran's throat. Kieran's face paled as he instinctively recoiled. Thunk, the sickening sound of steel-piercing flesh echoed in my ears. He turned stiffly, his eyes locking onto mine behind him. Everyone knew the 11th princess was kind to a fault. What they didn't know was that I could kill too. Kieran collapsed in a pool of blood, gazing at this former favorite. I felt not the slightest ripple of emotion. Account for the troops and withdraw. With this final battle, I had cleared all obstacles to formally ascend the throne, the miraculous spectacle of my soul being resurrected by heavenly lightning before countless witnesses left no room for dissent across the realm. I appointed Silas as royal preceptor and Loren as cavalry general. Having conquered all under heaven, I began expanding my imperial harem with ease, though occasionally needing to placate my furious royal preceptor in general. Everything else was perfection itself. Story 2, my best friend and I accidentally fell off a cliff during a hike and stumbled into a beastman world. Nova, are you truly willing to let me leave with the Dragon Clan's young master? The moment she opened her eyes, she dashed toward the majestic Dragon Clan. Nova bit her lip, her expression torn between reluctant acceptance and helpless resignation before finally nodding at me after a long pause. Meanwhile, I was rescued by the Snow Hare tribe. Ignoring her injured leg, Nova flung aside her backpack and sprinted toward the Dragon Clan's territory. Little did we know the dragons lived by savage customs with no morals, and breeding was particularly difficult. After several miscarriages, the Dragon Prince discarded her and gifted her to his underlings. The dragon barrier opened and closed again. Watching the golden light fade, I had no choice but to clutch Nova's discarded backpack and trudge toward the Snow Hare's glowing white sanctuary. Though the Snow Hare clan held low status, they did their utmost to keep me fed with 3 square meals a day. Nova had been with young Master Jace for 2 years, suffering 3 miscarriages and 1 stillbirth. Not a single child survived. My closest friend, suffering in the Dragon Clan, poisoned my tea during peace negotiations between our tribes, killing me. As an avid fan of palace intrigue dramas, Nova immediately suspected foul play when these tragedies struck. When I opened my eyes again, we had both returned to the day of our cliffside fall. She then threw hysterical tantrums, threatening suicide to pressure Jace into investigating everyone around them. This time, my friend dashed toward the Snow Hare clan before I could react, but Jace was no ordinary man. Every follower, from his dragonkin warriors to the lowliest servants, was fiercely loyal. I couldn't help but laugh. Who wouldn't love a life with full bellies, warm clothes, and no need to hide like fugitives? After repeated failed attempts to reason with Nova, he finally demanded she identify who had harmed her child. When Nova hesitantly pointed at one of the subordinates, Jace immediately granted her to that very follower with a wave of his hand. Nova completely broke down. When I saw my best friend limping toward the Snow Hare chieftain with her injured leg, I knew she'd been reborn. Following behind Rex, leader of the Snow Hare clan, Nova winked at me just as the barrier was about to close. In her past life, she was utterly mesmerized by the golden scales of the dragon folk, her feet carrying her unwittingly toward their young master. I barely finished my sentence before nearly bumping into Jace's back. This dragon prince looks fierce. Let me test the waters first. Once I've secured our footing, I'll come back for you. Jace turned around with a strange glint in his eyes. Stay with the white-cloaked one for a few days. Jace's stare sent chills down my spine as I stumbled backward, stammering an explanation. But now, her tune had changed. Jace remained silent. That dragon prince looks fierce. What a manly presence. Someone as delicate as you needs a strong protector. If Jace doesn't take this soon, the chocolate's going to melt into a puddle. That white-cloaked fellow seems frail and shady. Let me test his mettle for you. In my past life, the Canine clan somehow mastered some forbidden formation that left Jace gravely wounded after his heroic intervention. If I seized this chance to care for him like Nova did before, I could not only earn his favor but also secure my standing among the dragonkin. My jaw nearly hit the floor. Though the Dragon Clan relishes combat, they never wage war recklessly. In fact, they're the staunchest peacekeepers in the beast realm. Last time, countless factions exploited Jace's incapacitation to launch unchecked assaults, plunging entire species into devastating losses. How can anyone be this shameless? Jace had his men escort me back to dragon territory while he marched against the Canine clan armed with the secret weapon I'd provided. This is Jace's private chambers where he both resides and conducts official business. No unauthorized personnel are permitted entry. That open field serves as Jace's training grounds for martial drills and military exercises, equally off limits to outsiders. Mark my words. Once we take this step, there may be no turning back. There's another pavilion complex where Jace retreats to unwind, a place where the youth's eyes shone with pure admiration as he spoke of Jace, recounting it as casually as discussing the weather. The lead dragon maiden Luna stopped me. Since you're new here, take some time to settle in. Oh, and there's a letter here for you. And so, our path forward was decided. Luna is the most stunning beauty among the dragonkin, radiant and poised. A formidable warrior with a hearty, infectious laugh that commands deep respect within the clan. Thing is, we'd only come hiking with some snacks, and she took all our food when she left. Nova's just here to show off. Not that I really minded. Eden, you've reached the dragonkin lands by now, haven't you? Seen plenty of gorgeous dragon maidens, I bet. Well, here's the truth. Every even remotely attractive one has tangled with Jace, especially that Luna. His absolute favorite. Well, watch your back. Dragons are wealthy and powerful. If they lack anything, it's certainly not money. By the way, Rex, the Snowhair clan leader, was really kind. Seeing how badly I was shivering, he gave me his own cloak. But the Snowhair tribe, the letter claimed Jace was a cruel womanizer with countless lovers. I'd just become another insignificant fling in his harem, destined to lose the power struggle and earn his contempt. I wonder how many days that bag of snacks she took could last the Snowhair clan. If Nova were standing in front of me right now, I'd slap her silly, then grab her shoulders and yell, "Wake the hell up!" Just like in our past life, we happened to land right on the border between the Dragon Clan and Snowhair Clan territory. Dragons practice walking marriages, yet she somehow twisted it into some feudal harem system and started scheming like a concubine. No wonder Jace finally snapped. The sudden intrusion of outsiders alarmed both clan leaders. "Who wrote that letter to make you so happy?" Luna asked curiously. Thus, the Snowhair chieftain and the Dragon Prince appeared simultaneously. Following my gaze, Luna saw several dragon maidens washing meat in the water, wrapping it in leaves, and setting it aside, when a dashing golden-armored man with dragon horns and a pale, scholarly figure in white robes, who needed to pause after every few steps, appeared simultaneously. "Cooking time," Luna smiled sweetly. "Even a fool would know which one to choose. Chief Luna, bad news. The young master, he's been ambushed at Dongyang Mountain." Luna started in surprise but quickly composed herself, immediately rallying the remaining troops to head for Dongyang and deal with Jace. I grabbed Luna's arm. "I'm coming too." In their past life during the Dragon Dog War, Jace underestimated the enemy and got wounded while passing through Dongyang Mountain. The Snowhair clan ambushed him unexpectedly. This time, I've shown Jace how to handle the Dog Clan. He won't get hurt. I once believed our destinies were as different as our clan names suggest. Dragons soaring through the heavens while Snowhairs scurry across the earth. Nova met me with a smug, triumphant grin, yet faint regret in her tone. "My apologies, Eden. Had I known the Dragonkin were such a den of vice, I'd never have subjected you to this suffering." Little did I know the Dragon Clan had no moral boundaries. Men and women alike acted on passion without restraint. Worse still, dragon offspring were rare. Barely 1 in 10 newborn dragonlings survived. Nova's expression visibly darkened. "Oh," I countered, "isn't this the perfect chance to play the benefactor? I could leverage this favor to make Jace take me in. That gorgeous hunk, who wouldn't be tempted?" This was Nova's doing in her past life, exploiting the debt of saving his life. She seduced Jace into intimacy, bound by obligation. He kept her by his side, only to discover she wanted eternal monogamy while he preferred an open arrangement. Thus began their toxic marriage. Worse yet, Jace's chiseled physique, striking looks, and status as Dragon Lord made him indispensable to Nova's survival in the Draconic society. This twisted dynamic tormented yet intoxicated her. Nova scoffed coldly. "Let's see if Jace even makes it back alive first." I thought my past life experience with the Snowhair clan would help me identify Dongyang Mountain's weak points to rescue Jace, but judging by Nova's expression, the mountain's traps in this life might be even deadlier than before. He'd never break his subordinates' trust for some outsider from another realm. Luna led her team circling Dongyang Mountain repeatedly, yet found no breach point. Luna grew increasingly agitated while Nova became more smug. After a long moment of contemplation, I walked over to Luna. In just a few months of working together, I'd come to see Luna as a rare military talent who rivaled any man in capability. I also mentioned how I'd given Jace chocolate before his deployment. "Didn't you say he was the one who harmed you? Once you're carrying his child, he won't dare lay a finger on you." Luna remained silent for a long while before saying, "It's not that I don't trust you, but this mission is dangerous. With no combat skills, how will you protect yourself?" "Luna, our dragonkin are few in number. Every life lost brings our extinction closer." Luna's expression darkened with concern. "You don't understand, orcs are merciless, if captured by them." The final straw came when her new husband mentioned how the Snowhair chieftain had used their dwindling food supplies to prepare warm meals, all because some otherworldly woman couldn't stomach cold food. After a long silence, Luna suddenly turned and saluted me with a crisp military gesture. She begged her new husband to take her along when he went to negotiate peace with the Snowhair clan. Luna summoned several capable subordinates to accompany me on the mission. That's how the two of us ended up meeting again at the border between our clans. But clearly, Nova had anticipated this too, having Rex station guards in advance. I couldn't help feeling envious as I watched my best friend in her magnificent scaled armor, with a whole banquet table of food she could eat to her heart's content. The man kept ranting curses at Nova, completely oblivious to what he just revealed. What more could my dear friend possibly want? That paranoid leader Rex would always meet my strategies with mockery from the Snowhair clan rather than rewards, with warm clothes, full bellies, and mild weather here. If only the Snowhair tribe had it this good, I'd laugh myself to sleep every night. I took a deep breath to steel myself. Hold on, Eden. The fate of the dragonkin hangs in the balance. Little did I know my best friend would drown in regret day after day. Eden, come on, grab my hand. Truth is, she made the first choice that day we fell off the cliff. Jace's face remained expressionless. Why should I thrive with her leftovers while she got first pick? Jace had been trapped in the Dongyang Mountain ambush for days, with the Snowhair clan surrounding the area so tightly not even a bird could slip through. She feigned affection and urged me to try the tea. While I secretly swapped our cups, Jace looked at me with eyes full of shock, disbelief, and suspicion. Little did we know, both cups were poisoned. Before Jace could finish speaking, he waved his hand, and several subordinates stepped forward to inspect the ropes, and so we died on the same day. After confirming everything was secure, they nodded to Jace. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself reborn and rushed eagerly toward the Snowhair tribe, using Jace's hand for support. I stood up only to realize my legs were trembling from exhaustion after scaling the cliff. I couldn't stand without assistance. What a windfall. In my past life, the Snowhair clan had also set an ambush at Dongyang Mountain, with Jace caught in similar peril, too. That day, Jace had been wandering around Dongyang Mountain for quite some time, with their supplies exhausted. He and his men survived on nothing but mountain spring water for half a month. Jace led us back to the temporary camp to rest. Removing his helmet and shedding his armor, Jace visibly relaxed his expression. I clearly saw her mouthing words to me, the shape of her lips forming. Jace's eyes flickered between the raw meat and me. Just wait to become my plaything. The title of Snowhair Chiefess belongs to me now. Jace squinted with delight as he chewed the juicy meat, giving enthusiastic thumbs up. So good. As I struggled to form words, a golden light flashed before my eyes. Jace kept inching toward me while eating, and by the time he finished his meat, I was nearly pushed off the spot. My sudden gaze met piercingly bright pupils staring back at me. A puzzled look flashed in Jace's eyes as he muttered, crawling into bed. In that case, you're coming with me. Jace snatched the ointment. This is for internal injuries. Those are just flesh wounds. Tough it out. I froze as the golden-armored man turned away without sparing me a glance. On the third day, Jace led the entire dragon clan in a stealthy retreat from the cliffs. I stood there dumbstruck for what felt like ages. Meanwhile, Luna staged a confrontation with the Snowhair tribe at Dongyang Mountain, feigning the Yen Master's peril. He's so tall. When Jace returned to the dragon clan's barrier with his forces, Luna pretended to be overwhelmed and withdrew her troops as well. Tall, handsome, and with an incredible physique, the envoy delivering the alliance pact was none other than Nova herself. 3 months had passed, and Nova had lost all the dazzling radiance she once had. I quickened my pace to catch up with him, pulling out the only chocolate I had from my pocket. Eden, why do you look so exhausted? Is it because of Jace? Honestly, you shouldn't take it to heart. Look at the noble families in ancient times. They all had multiple wives and concubines. So, that armor you're wearing, are you going to war? Who are you fighting against? This is called chocolate. Dragons and snowhairs can eat it, but it's lethal to canines. Don't worry, we're best friends. The day Jace casts you aside, I'll have Rex bring you to the Snowhair clan. You've been kind enough to take me in, and I've got nothing to repay you with. Consider this my thanks. Keep it with you, just in case I didn't fly into a rage or wallow in self-pity, which only fueled Nova's frustration as she kept provoking me. Don't overthink it. Jace isn't heartless. He'll probably just make you entertain his men for a few days at most. She patted my hand with faint comfort. That lieutenant may not be as high-ranking as Jace, but he's still a squad leader. Play your cards right, and you might just win his favor. Nova's expression darkened. To avoid becoming a plaything, Nova used her past life memories to set an ambush at Dongyang Mountain and poison the water supply, though inter-tribal warfare was no secret. Why would a newcomer from another world like me, who should be worrying about survival, meddle in the Dragon Clan's external conflicts? She wouldn't have to worry about being handed over by Rex anymore. She sneered venomously. Go ahead and eat while you can. Better stock up now before Jace drains you dry for your healing blood. She'd assumed Jace was as gravely wounded as in their past life. Just a wild guess. Everyone around you is carrying dog-beating sticks. You're in full armor. and moving in a hurry. Something big's about to go down, isn't it? Nova's eyes flew open in shock. She hadn't realized other reincarnates existed besides herself. With Jace back with his clan and the Snowhair tribe severely weakened, I'm not the least bit worried about her causing any more trouble. Jace grudgingly granted me permission to attend, saying through clenched teeth. The chocolate began softening in my palm. Jace said, "Monogamy doesn't forbid unions between dragonkin and humans. You're a woman, I'm a man, why can't we make this work?" Defeated, Jace shook me off and stormed toward the banquet in a huff. We're truly honored that Chief Jace took time from his busy schedule to meet with us. Honestly, I didn't need to go through all this trouble. Come, Nova, present our sacred relic to Chief Jace. Nova had changed into a snow-white fur-trimmed gown, her raven hair cascading freely beneath a floral crown, standing gracefully with ethereal poise. Carrying a lacquered tray draped in crimson cloth, she glided toward Jace, her smile faltering momentarily when passing me. She knelt beside Jace, lifting the red cloth with delicate fingers that brushed against his skin with deliberate ambiguity. Jace frowned and recoiled, summoning a dragonkin subordinate with a wave of his hand to dismiss Nova. While not born a dragon, my origins in an era of peace taught me this truth: neither gold nor glory, neither crowns nor conquests hold value compared to the sanctity of peace. Nova shot me a venomous glare, my wrist grew sore and my palm began trembling from holding my arm up for so long. In their past lives when the Dragonkin and Snowhair clans forged their alliance, Jace was still gravely wounded, prompting the Snowhairs to present their prized bloodlingji, just as I was about to give up. A large, ice-cold hand firmly took the chocolate away. Only the Snowhair clan knew the medicinal properties of this treasure. The dragonfolk mistook it for common lingji mushroom and carelessly brewed it into Jace's tonic, nearly costing him his life. Now the Snowhair chieftain is pulling the same trick again, unaware that Jace isn't actually injured this time, having failed to impress Jace. Nova returned to her seat only to face Rex's impatient scowl. The glare made her knees buckle in fright. Unlike the Snowhair clan's modest structures, this place was filled with towering, majestic buildings, with white marble tiles paving the ground in lavish opulence. Nova was about to glare at me when her expression suddenly shifted. With wounded puppy eyes, she shot me a meaningful look, signaling to talk elsewhere. As we walked, the young dragon who led me and kept giving me a running commentary. Jace and Rex were engaged in their usual verbal sparring while everyone else minded their own business, making the whole scene utterly dull. I stood up and followed Nova out of the banquet. Spotting me, Nova uncharacteristically grabbed my arm with enthusiasm, pulling me into a secluded corner while glancing around suspiciously. Nova shoved pastries into my hands, gazing at me with that same intense look from our past life. Nova's bloodied mouth gaped open, unable to utter a single word. When news spread that the Snowhair clan's envoy had attempted to assassinate the Dragon Prince's savior, Rex's negotiating arrogance instantly deflated during the alliance talks. Jace asked me, "Is being a clan administrator important enough?" "I know," I blurted out. "No riffraff allowed either, right, kid? Skip the formalities, just take me where common folks can go." The dragon youth waved dismissively with an indifferent expression. "This pavilion admits only maidens who admire our young master, and whom he favors in return. Oh, exclusive for fandom. 3. After entering, what then? Admire his portrait, pay homage to his weapons, and is there an admission fee?" The youth widened his eyes in bewilderment. "Young lady," he said, "the pavilion has none of what you described. There's only a large bed and a bathing chamber inside. If there's a maiden who admires the young master, and he favors her in return, the two may share the bed in that pavilion to deepen their bond." I couldn't help wondering whether his notion of sharing the bed carried the same implication as what I had in mind. I probed cautiously, "So, what happens after getting under the covers?" The boy's eyes filled with pity, as if he were looking at a complete fool. "You just carry on with your life. Of course, the Dragon Clan is sparsely populated. Everyone, men and women alike, must work." "What about the women who've shared your young master's bed?" The boy lifted his chin proudly, declaring, "Countless, of course." I stood frozen as the boy's words kept echoing in my mind. After a long pause, a term surfaced in my thoughts: walking marriage. Could Dragon clans still practice walking marriage? Spot someone you fancy, share a bed, then pretend nothing happened come morning. When a child is born, the entire clan raises them together. For the numerically scarce dragon race, this is indeed a sound approach, but this only works for the first generation. Genetics teaches us that inbreeding reduces fertility rates, and even successful pregnancies often result in offspring with health complications. This means the Dragon Clan would face imminent extinction by the second generation under the walking marriage system. The young dragon eventually led me to the palace where dragon maidens resided, saying, "You'll work here as a helper." Everything seemed novel to me as a newcomer, and I couldn't wait to try my hand at anything. I took the letter in surprise. Who could be writing to me when I just arrived? The letter's contents instantly made everything clear. I scoffed coldly. It's nothing. I put away the letter and changed the subject. What are you all doing here? Cooking. I stared at the raw, crimson meat, my stomach churning so violently I nearly vomited. For the sake of my stomach, I had to put my limited cooking skills to use. Dragons are born with the gift of fire-making. I prepared grilled meat on the spot for several of them, then taught their kind the art of vegetable cultivation. With my silver tongue working its magic, the entire dragon realm was filled with the mouth-watering aroma of barbecue that day. I think when the vegetables are ready, I'll make some chili seasoning to sprinkle on the grilled meat. It'll be even more flavorful, with cooked meals available. My days with the Dragon Clan became much more enjoyable, until one day, a panicked messenger came running. Mount Dongyang was the territory of the Snow Hare Clan. The Dragon Clan suffered heavy losses as a result. With the Dragon Clan's power, the Snow Hare tribe's pitiful traps couldn't possibly hold them. Where exactly did things go wrong? Mount Dongyang was completely surrounded by the Snow Hare Clan. By the way, how are you holding up over there? Anything particularly unbearable? She bit her lip hard to stifle a laugh. For, playing along, I said, there are plenty of unbearable aspects, but one perk stands out: complete freedom in relationships. You can sleep with whoever you want without any commitments. In her past life, sharing a husband with other women had been her greatest torment. Don't get cocky, let me tell you, the Dragon Clan will be severely weakened by this. They'll need human blood for treatment after returning to their kind. Then you'll learn what true suffering means, when death would be a mercy but life won't let you go. My heart skipped a beat. That look on her face tells me she's definitely in on today's ambush. I leaned in and whispered my thoughts into her ear. I chuckled and patted her shoulder. Since I've come to the Dragon Clan, we share common enemies. As for brute strength, it's useless against wisdom. I turned my gaze toward Dongyang Mountain and spoke slowly. Though I came from another world, you and the dragon folk have welcomed me without reservation. Your kindness hasn't gone unnoticed. I placed a hand over my heart and met her gaze with unwavering determination. No fear, I gave a serene smile. Remember what I told you before. From now on, dragons shall practice monogamy. Once married, neither man nor woman may share beds with others, and spouses must be unrelated by blood. If dragonkind can transition from walking marriages to proper matrimony, our future prosperity is assured. When you return, I swear the entire dragonkin shall honor you as our most distinguished guest. Distinguished guest, now that's a proper honor, far better than being some chieftain's wife. In Orc society, being called the chieftain's wife is just a title. It comes with no special privileges. We raced across endless deserts and soared over boundless seashores. The road ahead grew increasingly treacherous. I halted the group and sent a scout ahead. Soon enough, the man returned, head bowed under a veiled hat, walking straight toward me. When just 3 paces away, he suddenly drew his waist saber and swung at me. Fortunately, I'd anticipated this and stood my ground. The blade was mere inches from me when the man suddenly plunged into the trap at my feet. As the veil hat fell, the panicked figure revealed himself, not the dragon clansman sent earlier, but a Snow Hare tribesman. Tell me, how many guards are stationed at the back mountain? We took a long detour, mostly unnecessary wandering, just to shake off the spies tailing us. My real target is the backside of Dongyang Mountain. There's a cliff on the backside. Scaling it would let us bypass the Snow Hare clan's ambush. The sentry wore a look of grim determination. Refusing to speak, I crouched over the trap, looking down at the man. You don't have to tell me, I already know. That wife of your new otherworldly arrival sold you all out long ago. The man suddenly lashed out. Paw. What wife? Just some bartered plaything traded for rations. TCH, I scoffed. Plaything or not, you still take orders from her. That which, if it weren't for her, the 10 of US brothers wouldn't be stuck here freezing our asses off, missing out on all the glory happening across the mountain. This situation was playing out exactly like it did in my past life. 5. In my past life, I fell into the hands of the Snow Hare clan, hoping to use my meager knowledge to improve their lowly status. Little did I know, the Snow Hare clan maintained a rigid hierarchy with unbreakable rules that tolerated no dissent. The Snow Hare clan's combat prowess was pitiful. A mere 10 warriors could wipe them out in moments. The cliffs of Dongyang Mountain were treacherously sheer, leaving no choice but to scale them. Gazing upward, the precipice towered into the clouds, its summit lost to sight, even with the sturdiest dragon-forged ropes and footholds tested by previous climbers. I nearly plunged from the cliff face multiple times. Never in this life or any other had death felt so imminent. Trembling uncontrollably, I clung desperately to the jagged cliff face, my hands, legs, and body crisscrossed with countless bleeding gashes. The slightest movement sent waves of agony coursing through my entire being. As an outsider in this world, Your chance to truly belong among the dragons rests entirely on this moment's success. A soldier scaled the cliff first and reached out to me. Seeing the goal within reach, I eagerly stretched out my hand. A sudden gust of wind hit me, my grasp slipped, nearly sending me over the edge. Snow hair bandits, prepare to die. No sooner had the words been spoken than razor-sharp sword gusts came slashing toward us. The soldier trying to pull me up had to divert his attention to parry the incoming sword strikes. Stop, I screamed from the cliff's edge. I'm the Otherworlder who helped you defeat the Canine clan. I've come to save you. The group simultaneously lowered their weapons, exchanging bewildered glances while keeping their swords ominously trained on me. Panting from the arduous cliff climb, I gasped, "Don't believe me? Ask your young master." During the battle with the Canine clan, did someone give him a chocolate bar? After a long hesitation, one soldier turned and walked away. The sheer 100-foot cliff left me breathless with exhaustion, collapsing onto the ground to gulp air in ragged gasps. Sweat soaked through my clothes as beads of perspiration dripped from my forehead down my hair. I casually took the handkerchief before me and wiped my face. Then I grabbed the water flask nearby and drank my fill. "Don't drink it all," I startled, water still in my mouth, and followed the hand offering a handkerchief and canteen upward. Beneath a gleaming golden helmet was a chiseled yet familiar face. "The Snow Hair clan poisoned all the water here. If you drink it all, others will have none." I hastily returned the canteen. "I'm here to save you." He followed the direction of my pointing finger. Ropes dangled from the cliff, their iron claws securely anchored to massive boulders at the edge, utterly unshakable. He'd barely managed to send out one messenger against all odds. Who could have imagined someone would scale the cliffs to rescue him? How did you? Was there really no ambush waiting below the cliff? There was an ambush, but we handled it. What did you mean earlier about poisoning the water? But the Snow Hair clan hadn't resorted to poisoning tactics. 2 weeks later, the Snow Hair clan's troops ran low on provisions, forcing them to sign a truce with the Dragonkin and grant them safe passage. This time, with the waters poisoned and the Dragonkin's retreat cut off, the Snow Hairs only needed to outlast their enemies' dwindling supplies to claim victory. Whoever devised this desperate plan must have known the Dragonkin's battle tactics inside out. A figure flashed through my mind. The tent only had a makeshift bed, with a tear in the ceiling. Who knows if it rained these past 2 days? 6. You've all had a long journey. Rest here for 2 days. We'll set out on the 3rd. He handed me a piece of raw meat. Eat up. This is all the food we've got. I couldn't help telling him, "You're behind the times. Dragons roast their meat now. Civilized folk eat cooked food." I had to teach the barbecue method all over again. I nodded. "Have more if you like it." We locked eyes, neither saying a word. As he moved closer, I shoved his shoulder back. "What do you think you're doing? Biting the hand that feeds you?" I didn't catch that. Vegetarian or meat option. Vegetarian cuddles are allowed. I'll even pat you to sleep if you want. No meat cuddles though. You've been away too long. Dragon Society doesn't do casual betting anymore. Monogamy's the trend now. I fished out a small ointment jar from his bedside and extended my hands. "Here, help me apply this before our chaste cuddle session." He vaulted over me onto the bed, turning his back with a huff. "Fine, I'll tap myself in then." Well, aren't we touchy? By the time the Snow Hair clan exhausted their provisions, they discovered Dongyang Mountain had long been abandoned. I vigorously promoted the benefits of monogamy throughout the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan immediately adopted this fertility-enhancing practice across their entire tribe, along with my cooked food initiative. Frankly speaking, the Dragon Clan's superiority over the Snow Hair tribe stems partly from their chieftain's willingness to heed counsel, just like in previous lives. The Snow Hair tribe's excessive consumption of provisions at Dongyang Mountain forced them to form alliances with neighboring clans including the dragons. Doing the math, the Snow Hair clan had clearly been fattening her up like livestock. She must have long been groomed as one of their goodwill offerings to other tribes. That impeccably dressed, dignified Snow Hair chieftain, all refined manners and gentle words, spent his days scheming, trading the clan's maidens for military intelligence and supplies. But these truths, she would never speak aloud. She'll only resent me for stealing her path to glory, being merely human. My wounds heal slower than a dragon's, especially these climbing scrapes that still ache with every step. As I limped toward her, a flicker of smug satisfaction crossed her sullen face. 7. Oh, I replied flatly. Why would I want anyone's favor? I leaned back on the stool, rubbing my stuffed belly. I've got food, warmth, and occasional dragon rides through the skies. Life couldn't be more carefree here. The moment she finished speaking, a loud growl echoed. Someone's stomach was rumbling. When she first joined the Snow Hair tribe, she took all the food we had between us. For the sake of those provisions, the chieftain did treat her well, for a while, but once the food ran out, the chieftain began scheming to trade her for more supplies. In her mind, if this move could wipe out the Dragon Clan in one fell swoop, their vast lands and resources would belong to the Snow Hair tribe. But unexpectedly, I foiled her poison plot. Yet the Snow Hair tribe still lost. And more disastrously than in their previous life. Of course she would never say these things to me. Feeling immensely relieved, I rolled my eyes mockingly and retorted, "Keep talking while you can. Spit it all out before you realize this life's different and have no tears left to cry." Mimicking her sarcastic tone, I said, "Don't you have an alliance treaty to sign? Better hurry along now." A gentle spring breeze carried through the crisp, clear air. The Dragon Clan had prepared a grand banquet in the palace halls well in advance for the alliance ceremony between our two clans. I refused to believe that after seeing my dignified and majestic presence during the alliance signing, you'd still refuse to share my bed. I reprimanded him sternly. "How many times must I say this? It's called monogamy, marriage, not sharing beds. You're supposed to be a tribal chief. Could you at least act civilized? How could that possibly work? I'm just a biology amateur, no idea if humans and dragons have genetic compatibility. For the sake of their bloodline, I shouldn't meddle with interspecies marriages," I declared. "A true leading lady never wastes time on romance. Just give me an official position, thanks." The snow-haired chieftain had been waiting impatiently. At the sight of the Dragon Clan, his stern face instantly broke into an ingratiating smile. Adopting the most submissive posture, 8. The lacquered tray held the Snow-Hare clan's sacred relic, the blood lingji. Though called spirit mushroom, blood lingji has effects opposite to regular lingji. It's medicinal, but not nourishing, rather a wound herb that accelerates blood circulation. While invigorating for healthy individuals, it overwhelms the severely wounded, worsening injuries and potentially proving fatal. No amount of blood glow mushrooms could endanger an uninjured person's life. The stumble revealed the wounds on her neck. Flustered, she tried to hide her bruises when our eyes accidentally met. I found a way back. "Oh." I fought to keep a straight face, lowering my voice to ask, "What way?" She produced 2 pieces of pastry from nowhere. "I stole this from the Snow-Hare tribe. Eating it will take us back to our original world. You don't like this Beastman world either, do you?" I nodded in agreement, this time, to gain my trust. She took the initiative to take a bite of the pastry first. "See, not poisoned. If it's harmless." I toyed with the treat in my hand, giving her a knowing smirk. "Then you should finish it yourself." She froze momentarily before slamming me against the wall, forcing the poisoned pastry toward my mouth. "I don't believe it. You always get lucky like this. You outscored me in school, outperformed me in job hunting. And now even in this orc world you managed to land on your feet. I won't accept this. Let's go again." I caught her wrist to stop her from force-feeding me snacks, looking her dead in the eyes. "I aced exams because I burned the midnight oil studying. I landed better jobs by grinding through resumes and interviews day and night. Even in this orc world, all I think about is how to contribute to this race through my own efforts. Not like you, always chasing campus popularity, hunting for cushy jobs, and now in this orc world, still stuck in petty catfights." The poison pastry took effect, her grip weakened, complexion turned ashen, thin trails of blood seeping from the corners of her mouth. She clawed at her throat, gaping mouth gasping for air on the floor, more ragged exhales than struggling inhales. After all these years of friendship, my heart ached for her. I kept pulling at her arm, pleading, "Where's the antidote? Let me get it." Even in death, her hollow stare remained fixed on me, as if trying to drag my very soul away. I don't know if she'll reincarnate this time, but if she does, I hope she'll remember what I told her. Ultimately, the 2 clans signed a non-aggression pact, with the Snow-Hares submitting to dragon rule for a century, swearing eternal fealty. The Dragon Clan dispatched officials to oversee the Snow-Hare territory's administration. After a moment's thought, I nodded. This official position will do, barely. A lifetime later, I stood once more in the Snow-Hare clan's palace. The difference was, this time I could hold my head high as I received everyone's bows.